In this video I want to show you how you can set up your own email server using Maddy, which is a composable all-in-one mail server. It replaces stuff like postfix, dovecot, OpenDKIM and many more. And it is pretty easy to set up, and I'm gonna show you my setup on Alpine Linux. So let's just get started. So there's the setup tutorial, which guides you through the installation and initial configuration. And you need two things for this, of course. So first up, you need a domain. And second, of course, you need a VPS. So you need a server where you can host your mail server, obviously. And you can't really do that like with a home server because, yeah, you need a static IP, and yeah, you just need a VPS with a static IPv4 address. You can't really get around that. I found, and you need a provider which doesn't block SMTP traffic. So it says here, for example, Google Cloud blocks it or whatnot. Yeah. And again, on my server, I am using Alpine. So if I switch that, so here we are on my Alpine box, and this is just a normal VPS with pretty low resources actually, but it's enough. And I've installed Alpine on it. So maddy is a Go project, which is actually pretty nice because they have like static binaries which you only have to copy. So because for Alpine right now for 3.22 there's not actually a maddy package. So if we search apk maddy, apk search maddy, there doesn't come anything up. On Edge, on testing, there is a maddy package, which is this one right here. But again, I'm not using that. I'm using stable 3.22. And yeah, so I installed it manually, which is again pretty simple because they have pre-built tarballs, which you can either get on GitHub or on this maddy emails build directory. So you go here, you select the latest version, and then you have all these files here. So these first ones are the source code, of course, and the second ones are the actual binaries. So what you want is this one right here. And I've already downloaded that. It's this one right here. Oh, and I have my notes. I have compiled all my notes here, so I'm not doing this like off the top of my head. So what you need to do on Alpine to unpack that, I found, is because tar isn't actually able to unpack this by default. At least not BusyBox tar, I think. You need to install this let me make this big bit, zstd package, and then you need to unzstd this file, and then you can untar it normally. And what you get is this maddy directory, this directory with like these two files and this systemd directory, which doesn't really matter. So this systemd just includes like a systemd service file for maddy, but this is not really relevant. At least for me, it wasn't, because I'm not using systemd. Alright, so what's relevant are these two files. So the first one is, so the file that's named maddy is the actual binary, and the second one is a example configuration file. So what I did is I created this etc maddy directory, and I copied the configuration file there, and then I copied the maddy binary to user bin, and you can use user local bin. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Well, maybe user local bin is more correct because I installed it myself, but whatever. I just put it in user bin. Doesn't matter. All right. So that's the installation. Pretty straightforward. What you then want to do, so one of the most important things is like certificates. Because of course you need like TSL certificates, for your domain. So for me it's mail.nicolas.me, and so there are lots of ways, and I mean it says on this setup page right here, and yeah, I'll get into Daemon setup in a second. and into configuration. But first up, TSL certificates. There are lots of ways to get them, like for example, Let's Encrypt and Certbot and stuff like that, or ACME, whatever. The way I get them nowadays is by using Caddy, which is a mail, which is not a mail server, which is a web server, which automatically installs and configures TLS certificates and manages them. So you don't have to have a cron job with like Certbot and Let's Encrypt and stuff like that. Yeah, it just does that automatically. And Caddy places all your certificates in this directory right here. So var lib caddy.local share blah blah blah. And so maddy can't really read that. So what I came up with was I created this etc maddy certs directory and hard linked the certificates there. So maddy can actually read the directories these keys are located in, or these files. And then I followed the documentation, which says here to use the set facl command to make files readable only to the maddy user. So this is a access control utility, which you need to install in Alpine by using apk-acl. And then you can run this, and yeah, so I just allowed maddy to read these hard linked certificate files. Because if you try to run this command on this path right here, it won't work because maddy may be able to read the files, so these files here at the end, but it can't read the directories, the directory these files are located in. So yeah, it can't read them. So again, I first hard linked them to this etc maddy certs directory and then made them readable to maddy. Alright, so and that's needed because if we now configure maddy, so with etc maddy maddy.conf, if I open that up, etc maddy.conf, we of course have to set our hostname and our domain. So my hostname is mail.nicolas.me and my primary domain is just the domain itself. And then this TLS file is also TLS file line is also important because you have to specify the path to your certificate and to your key files. And yeah, so I just did that. So these are the hard linked files which I made readable to maddy, to the maddy user. Oh yeah, because user, I totally forgot that, which is down here for some reason. You have to add a maddy user. So first you have to add the maddy group, and then you have to add the maddy user. And yeah, I did it with these commands. I think in the documentation it lists some other command, but that didn't work for me. So what I did is I looked at the maddy package on Edge testing for Alpine. Then I went down here and went to the Git repository. And in here you have a few files. And the interesting one is this pre-install file, because right there it says how to add the user, add the group, and then add the user. And yeah, that's exactly how I did it. So these are these two lines right here. So this should probably be up here actually before certs, because I mean you can't make something readable to a user that doesn't exist. All right. Yeah. So let me close that. Again, user setup. Just run these two commands, and you're fine. Then certs, just run this, and you can. I mean, you're probably gonna be able to figure it out yourself how to do it with your setup you have running. So if you use Let's Encrypt, you can do this, for example, or if you use acme.sh, you can probably do this. And yeah, so just try it out, whatever works for you. All right, and again for configuration, the only things I changed are these lines right here. So these two and this TLS line, and that's pretty much it. So if I diff this, if I diff it with the not with this, but with maddy, something maddy.conf. Yeah, so these are the only lines I changed, because the rest, if we look at the rest, it's just, configuration for stuff like, for example, credentials and passwords and like blah blah. So it's all the technical stuff that you need to configure to get this to work, but the normal configuration is fine as is and is perfectly usable out of the box. So it includes stuff like DMARC, DKIM, SPF, like your normal SMTP setup, but also like SMTP with TLS and stuff like that. So everything's authenticated. Yeah, so it just all works and I didn't have to change anything, and also your IMAP stuff and stuff like that. So yeah, again, the only things I changed is are these domain specific entries. All right, yeah, and I don't even have that here in my write-up. All right, next up, of course, you don't want to run maddy in a tmux session or stuff like that. You want to have it as a daemon. And again, normally, so right here it includes like stuff for systemd based distros, and if we again look at the tarball, it also includes systemd specific files, so service files for systemd, but Alpine doesn't use systemd, but it uses OpenRC. So again, what I did is I went to this edge testing Alpine package and then went to the Git repository and looked at the initd file, which is a OpenRC file for maddy, which includes everything. So, for example, this specifies which user to run maddy as, so the maddy user with the maddy group, but it also gives it capabilities like, for example, this capnet bind service. And this is actually relevant because if you run something as a normal user without root privileges, you can't actually bind to what's it called, to ports like, for example, 25 for SMTP, because these are reserved ports, and yeah, you just can't bind them. You can bind to like random ports like I don't know, like some 4-digit number, but like these special ports like 25 or also like 80 or 443, you can't bind to with a normal user. And this capability lines changes that. And stuff like that. So this is actually quite important, because otherwise you can't run this mail server as a normal user. Because if you were to like change your user to maddy and then just try to run the binary, it wouldn't work. And you don't, of course, want to run this as root, because it's a public, like it's an outward facing service, which can be attacked, and that's just a security risk you have, an unnecessary security risk. Okay, so I just copied this file, and so if we ls, this is it right here. So I put it in this maddy directory, and then I copied it to etc initd maddy. And if we look at that, that's pretty much everything. Oh wait, I added this. I added this line to have like logs in varlog maddy, and what you need to do to make this work is, of course, create this directory, so varlog maddy, and also make it writable by the maddy user. So I did just that, and yeah, so the maddy user can write there, and it writes this log. All right. And other than that, that's pretty much all I changed. So if we diff this, maddy initd, you can see well, now it's the other way around, but how can I change it? Okay, whatever. Yeah, so I added this line, so this opt line, but this is, if you don't need these logs in this file, you can leave that. And I added this line where I actually got this file from. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You need to make this file executable, of course, so you need to give it, you need to change mod plus exit, and that's it. That's pretty much all you have to do. And then you can run rc service, maddy, and for example, a status or start and stop and all that stuff. So yeah, pretty straightforward. All right, mail location. Well, I mean, when we set up the user, we specify the home directory with this h flag, and it's in var lib maddy. If we look at this, var lib maddy, we can see right here it stores all the files. So here are SQLite databases for credentials and IMAP. Here are messages, here are DKIM keys, which I'll get to in a second, and stuff like that. So here's all the stuff that's relevant to maddy. So you don't have that in like 10 different directories, but just in one, which is really nice. Alright, after you've set all of this up, you can, well, maybe more important is to add DNS settings or DNS entries, but I'll get into that in a second. So you want to, of course, add your accounts, like like the email addresses you are actually going to use, because that's what an email server is for after all. So what you have to do is you have to first add your user to the maddy group, because if you don't do that, and I just run as root on my server, so I added root to the maddy group, because if you don't do that, running these commands can mess up your directory structure, because maddy needs to have like read and write permissions to everything, of course. And if you run this as a, like, especially as root, it could mess up your, well, your directory permissions, your permissions in this directory. So it could happen that maddy, or it would happen that maddy can't actually read the stuff anymore. Alright, and after that you have to run these commands right here. So maddy creds create and maddy imap act create. And you can use in the you can look in the official documentation. If we scroll down, yeah, it says you can read all about that. And you can alternatively, if you were to use if you have sudo installed, you can use sudo -u and then maddy to run these commands. But yeah, I just added the root user to the maddy group, and you have to, that's important as well, you have to log out and then log back in for this to take effect. But now if I run groups like this, you can see the root user is in a bunch of groups, and also in the maddy group. Alright, so that's user management. So that's how you can create mailboxes, and also you can then, I mean, you can look at maddy help, I think, yeah, and look at that, and yeah, that's, I mean, this is all you need. So this maddy command is all you need to create and delete and manage and change passwords and all that stuff for email server. Alright, so that's that. And last but not least, well, the most important but also kind of most annoying part about managing an email server is, of course, DNS. So your domain settings, or your name server settings. So, and I added a bunch of these, and I'm just going to use NSLOOKUP to take a look at them. So the first one is, of course, your MX entry and your mail exchange entry. And for my domain, this is mail. So that I use the mail subdomain. You can use MX1 or MX0 or whatever. I just use mail because I only have one mail exchange, and that's this one right here. And if we again look at the maddyconf, this is also what should be your host name, I think. Yeah, and yeah, so you need that. Or at least this is how I do it always. I just use mail. Alright, next up, one of the most important things is DKIM. And DKIM is a security mechanism to make sure that emails are actually sent from where they claim they are sent from. So again, this is very important, and this is not something you can simply copy, but this is just a like, what's it called? Asymmetric encryption thing. So right here it uses, for example, RSA. I don't know why it uses RSA, to be honest. If we scroll up here to DNS records, or wait, where is this? No. Yeah. In the documentation it uses add25519, which is way nicer because the keys are shorter. but for some reason it used RSA on my system. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really matter in the end. And where you get this is, I've written it right here. So you get this in var lib, varlib maddy deacon keys Nicolas, or your domain dot your TLD underscore default DNS. And if we cat that out, you will see it's exactly the entry. Well, not exactly. I think this is a bit more because it automatically gets truncated or something if you enter this in your name server, so in your domain settings. But this is exactly the entry, and you need to. I think you need to add all of this in the interface you configure your domain in, and it will automatically truncate it or something. Or yeah, I don't know exactly how it works. Or is this? No, it's not. Yeah, but yeah. So this only goes to here. So I don't know why that's the case, but it is like that. So, but you need to enter this whole thing. By the way, why is so just put this in your txt record, and this is a txt record for default._domain key. This is important. For other mail server setups, it's like mail._domain key, but for this one, it's default. So that's something I also messed up when I set this up, and that's important. All right. And I mean, you can read all about this right here as well. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you with my actual setup. Next txt record is for your normal, like for your domain without any subdomains, and that's this FPS record. This is also very important. There's also some security mechanism, and I mean you can look it up what exactly it does, but it's important that you have it. So that's this line right here, and this other line, that's not so important. I don't know. I don't actually know why I configured this. I think I just pasted it over from my other mail server, and this is for like auto configuring mail clients. So when you enter your credentials into a mail client, the mail client will automatically fetch all the information about mail servers and ports and stuff like that. Yeah, from this file right here. But I actually don't have the file at this location, so yeah, I should maybe remove this. So this is not really that important, but it's important if you do like if you host like email for like other people which are not as tech savvy. This may be important. All right, next setup is DMARC. This is also again a security thing which is necessary. So if you want to run a professional email server and send email to like Google or Outlook or stuff like that, you need this. And this is again a txt entry for your _DMARC subdomain. And you need to change out these postmaster things, of course, and you need to create these postmaster accounts. Yeah, so that's important. And don't run this over your normal email account which you use, because it gets a lot of mail, or it can get a lot of mail. All right, and again, this, I mean, you can find this here, and this is like, especially for this DMARC thing, it lists something other than what I have here, and these settings, I don't know, I just copied them over from my other email server, and I spent like a lot of time researching this and adjusting this so it works. So yeah, but don't ask me what all of these do. I mean, I looked it up once and copied it from some guy's blog probably, but yeah, you know how it is. All right. Yeah, also I have these SRV records for IMAPs and submission. I don't really remember what these are for, to be honest. I think they are also for like auto configuration of email clients. But yeah, you can have them if you want to, but I don't think they are necessarily. So yeah, they just point to my mail server. All right, and yeah, in the maddy documentation it says they have a whole section of MTASTS and Daemon, but I don't know what this is for, to be honest. I mean, it's a again a security mechanism for man-in-the-middle attacks and stuff like that. But yeah, I have never, like, this is the first time I've seen this. Like, other email server setups don't, at least the ones I have used, don't use this. So I honestly didn't bother to set it up. And I mean, down here it says it's recommended to set up a TLSA record, and then you need to go to this random website to generate one. Like, what? Like, what do you mean? Go to this website and generate a certificate? Like, that's kind of strange. So I honestly didn't bother with this, and so far I didn't have any problems. Yes, and one of the things, I mean, does it mention it here? I don't remember. And of course you need, yeah, this is kind of obvious, but you need to have like an A record for your mail, like for your mail subdomain that points to your server. But this is kind of obvious because otherwise you wouldn't even have been able to get your TLS certificate for this mail subdomain. Yeah, one thing it doesn't mention here, I think, is, well, maybe reverse. No, it doesn't even mention it here. And that's very important, and I only have it down here as a comment. You need to set up reverse DNS. This is like super important. Like, this is because otherwise you will have a lot of trouble and a lot of undeliverable mail to like professional quote unquote services like Outlook or Gmail or what have you. Because reverse DNS, so normal DNS, I mean, oh, why does it indent it? I don't want that. Again, normal DNS, alright. Normal DNS does the following. You have a domain name, domain.com, and you want to resolve this to an IP. So, I don't know, like this IP, for example. I mean, and you don't know this IP, of course, but you want to know what IP this domain points to. So that's DNS. And reverse DNS is exactly the reverse. So you want to know, okay, I have this IP right here, but what domain does this IP point to? And normally this is some like strange domain which is provided by your VPS provider. But what you want to have is to have this reverse DNS point to your mail domain. So in my case, this would be mail.nicolas.me. And this is important so other mail servers can actually verify that your mail server with this IP is allowed to send email for this domain. Again, this is super important. You can set that up in your domain settings, but you have to set it up in your server VPS settings. And that, I mean, the setup varies from interface and provider to provider, but you can probably find a way. If you can't find a way, just ask support. Maybe. I don't know. You probably get some AI generated slop back. No, but yeah, I think every VPS provider gives you the ability to do that. Alright, and yeah, that's pretty much it for DNS setup, and after that, most of your stuff should probably, hopefully, work. And you can also add like these 4A setups for like IPv6. I don't really remember if I set that up. I don't know. I mean, you can have them. Yeah. Maybe you need them for some email providers. I don't know. I think I set them up. So yeah, you can also do that. Or you should do that probably. And yeah, I think that's it. After that, you just set up your email client with the users you created. So for me, it would be nick@nicolas.me. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And also with the password you entered in this, when you called this maddy create command, of course. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how to set up your own email server. So I think with maddy, this is, I mean, this might seem complicated at first if you look at all these things and whatever, but it's so much simpler than setting up postfix, dovecoin, OpenDKIM, OpenSPF, OpenDMARC, and blah blah. Like, maddy just replaces all of them with like one binary. So yeah, this really is pretty great, I think. Because if you set all this up by hand or try to set up all these services, you will eventually end up using using something like Docker. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Again, I think maddy is great and all, but I mean, it says here IMAP storage is in beta, and it's not the biggest project. So I have only tried this out now, and I want to keep using it like for my personal email. But I probably wouldn't recommend using this for like client work. So if you offer like email hosting for like other people, especially when it's like a business environment, I don't know if this is the best email server for that. For that, I use Docker Mail Server, which does exactly that. Like, it's a Docker image which provides you with postfix and dovecot and all this stuff, all configured and working nicely together. And I mean, it's a giant project with a lot of people working on it. So when some of this, like when some piece of software changes, for example, changes its configuration and you need to adjust like config files, there are lots of people which can do that. So they kind of, but again, if you're only one person and want to set up your personal email server, I think maddy is a great option. And I mean, on this page, it like there's lots and lots of documentation about doing anything, everything. So again, it says IMAP storage in beta, and you can use dovecot if you want. It tells you somewhere right here how to set it up. Yeah, integration with software, so dovecot setup, and yeah, so it tells you what you need to configure and stuff like that if you want to do that. And also for other things like a bunch of stuff. For example, rspamd is here, how to set that up if you want to use that. How to like even blob storage, how to store blobs on like S3 buckets and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff here. Pretty much everything you might want to do. Also like multiple domain setups, because yeah, it's up here. Because I mean, in the setup I've just shown you, there's only one domain. But sometimes you want to have multiple domains. So for example, right here, example.org and example.com. And it tells you how to set that up as well. And yes, so again, I think so far I'm really happy with maddy. Like, it's simple, well, relatively simple to set up, and it just kind of works out of the box. And so yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what email server you use if you host your own, or what you think of maddy if you tried it or if you tried to set it up. Yeah, send me an email from your own email server if you want to at nick@nickolas.me. And yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. I hope I haven't missed anything. Again, if this setup doesn't work for you, let me know. But I think that's pretty much everything I did to get it working on my Alpine box right here. So yeah, that's maddy. I hope this was helpful, and maybe it helps you set up your own email server, which I think you should if you care about this kind of stuff. Because again, with maddy, it's really kind of simple. So yeah, that's it. Have a nice day.